Hi, I'm Adrian with Clearwater Shuffleboard, and today we're at Allen Shuffleboard to talk about cues. Before we go into the showroom, I wanted to make a couple points for introduction. So first, shuffleboard cues are also called sticks, and they were originally made out of wood. Now they're going to come in aluminum, graphite, and carbon fiber, as we'll see in the video. The rules about the cues from the Florida Shuffleboard Association, it says the cue shall not have an overall length of more than 6 feet 3 inches. No metal parts on the cube shall touch the playing surface of the court. I'm about 5'9", so this is the height of the cue, which is going to be 6'3". I have 3 cues lined up here, and I measured them pretty exactly, and they were all the same height. That was 6 feet 2 inches and 3/4. So the other part has to do with the plastic, that you can't have metal touching the court. So as we'll see in the video, each end, like the tips, are made of plastic, and then on the other side you always have rubber. So if you were to drop it on the court, none of the metal is going to touch the court, and that's just to protect the court. The other thing is about Allen Shuffleboard itself. So if you're not familiar with it, they're pretty much the dominant producer and seller of shuffleboard products, everything from discs to courts and to cues. So it's not like a sport like pickleball where you have numerous brands competing. So the good part about that is you can really select your product knowing that you're getting the best brand through Allen Shuffleboard. The showroom and headquarters is in Seminole, Florida, not far from Clearwater and St. Pete Shuffleboard clubs. Amazon does have a limited selection of products, but that's only the cues that are going to be aluminum. So if you want anything that's the graphite or carbon fiber, you have to go directly through Allen Shuffleboard, either through their website, allenshuffleboard.com, or by calling, and they have a very helpful staff, really good customer service. So now let's go inside to meet Stephanie. Okay, we're here with Stephanie with Allen Shuffleboard, and she's going to be talking about some of the cues that we have today.
All right, so let's start with our one-piece cues. These are most likely going to be seen at shuffleboard clubs where they have equipment sheds or parks where they have places where they can store equipment. So what you'll notice with these is they're one-piece aluminum cues. They don't collapse. They're not actually very convenient to carry with you in your car or on your bike. But they are pretty good for play, so that's why a lot of communities use these. If you order one of our premium sets, this is what you're going to get, this bronze cue with a continental head. You can tell it's got a continental head because of the yellow runners. One of the primary benefits of this cue is that if something happens to this head, it falls down, it's not going to get out of alignment, but it might break. But we always sell replacement parts because we really believe in repair, don't replace. So if something happens to this cue and you need to fix your head, you can just order a new head, and it's really easy to put on. The next cue that you're most likely to see is this one. This is a 5.5W head. So it's got a one-piece cue with a 5.5W head. This cue's been around for a long time. It's a classic. These white runners are swivel runners, so they're great for play. But one of the downsides of this is if it does fall and this head gets knocked, it could get knocked out of alignment. So if that happens, don't hesitate. You can either order a new head, or if you happen to be in the Seminole area, you can bring it into us and we can realign that for you. So you may see these guys around a little bit. They're pretty common with backyard play, or you may see these at resorts and hotels that are going for a retro feel. But for playability, I really prefer the continental head or the 5.5W head. When somebody first starts playing and they come in and they want to know what cue do I get, we usually will recommend one of these cues. So these are telescoping cues, and they have a head that should look familiar for the 5.5W, but it actually has a Bigfoot runner. So the Bigfoot runner has a curve in it, so it curves around the disc itself, rather than a straight line like the 5.5W has. So a lot of times people want the Bigfoot runner with their personal cue because they get a little bit more control over their shot. And it's less likely to get out of alignment because you're taking care of it. It's not somebody picking out a random cue from the shed, kind of playing with it but not really caring because it's not theirs. That's why we recommend the 5.5W over the Bigfoot runner for communities. But for your personal cue, highly recommend this Bigfoot runner. So this telescoping cue is small, it collapses, so it'll fit into your back seat or your trunk. And then when you're ready to play, there's a couple important things to remember. This piece of plastic does not turn. That's not how you open this cue. Its only purpose is to hold this piece of metal inside this piece of metal. So when you're ready to play, you're just going to twist the two pieces of metal in the opposite direction, extend the cue out as far as you'd like it. If you extend it the full length, it's going to be regulation size. Or if you're a little bit shorter, you want a little shorter cue, you can extend it out just to where you like it, and then you're going to twist it back and lock it in place. Then when you're done playing, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to twist the two pieces of metal, collapse the cue, and then twist it back to lock it so that when it goes in your car, it doesn't come sliding out. So the only difference between these and the cue that I just showed you are the decorative wraps. Sometimes if you like color or you like patterns, this is the way to go, but it's the same basic cue as the one we just talked about. All right, so let's say you've been playing for a little while, or you're just super into shuffleboard. When you get your first cue, you're probably going to want to go to this wall. These are going to be our graphite cues and our carbon fiber cues. And there's a few different options to think about when you look at these cues. So first we have two-piece graphite. So you can see instead of this collapsing, it actually comes apart into two pieces. We also have this in a four-piece graphite. So this one is a four-piece. So it comes apart into four separate pieces. Put that there. There we go. So this is convenient if you ever plan on traveling with your cue. If you're going to go on an airplane, this will fit into a carry-on luggage. We've gotten mixed reviews from TSA about if it's allowed to bring on the plane or not. Most people don't have a problem, but I have heard of a couple of people who've had to go check their bag. But the four-piece is also super convenient if you know you're riding your bike to play shuffleboard. It's a lot easier to carry than the two-piece or the telescoping cue. The next thing to think about is going to be what kind of head you want. So we have a standard head like this one. See, there's no hole in this. And then we have a chameleon head. So the chameleon head has a hole in it for you to screw weights into it. And I'll show you those weights in just a second. So with these screws, these are convenient. It adds a little bit of weight to the head of your cue, and this can do a couple of things. If it's a windy day, that's going to help hold your cue head down to the ground when you're shooting, so it's less likely to kind of move with the wind. Also, if you're on a slower court, this can give you a little bit more of that oomph to get your discs down the court. You can use one screw, or you can use both screws. So if you do, you can screw one into the bottom and one into the top. Just make sure that whichever screw you have towards the bottom of the court isn't dragging on the court, because we don't want to be scratching our concrete courts. You can't switch out your heads. Once you've decided on a head, that's going to be the head on that cue for as long as you have that cue. You can always buy another cue with a different head if you'd like. But if, let's say you go ahead and you get a standard cue and then you're like, oh man, I really wish I'd gotten the one that I could screw weights into. Worry not, we've got you covered. So we've got this snap-on weight right here. So if you do have a standard head and you want to add weight to it, you can get this, and it just squeezes right onto the top of that cue. So when you're shooting, now you've got weight on your cue as well. A couple more cues that I want to talk to you about. This is our Westerner head. So if you've ever played in Arizona or California, you know that their courts are a little bit different than the ones we have on the East Coast. They are actually diamond ground, and they're significantly faster than ours. And they actually use a different style of bead. They call it wax, which is kind of funny. But so they love these tips here. They work really well on their courts. They don't work quite as well on the East Coast courts. So if you're playing in Florida, you're likely not going to want this style of cue. If you want something that doesn't run along the edge of the court, though, we do have a cue for you. So we've got this one. It's called the glider. What it does is it sits on top of the disc so that you're not touching the court when you shoot. Some people love it. Some people don't really like it that much. I would highly recommend trying one out if you can find somebody that's got one on their cue before you purchase it. But you know, it's a really good cue. It's the one I use actually. So this is our carbon fiber cue. It is made of carbon fiber, so it's a little bit more rigid than the graphite cue is. The graphite cue, if you move it around, you're going to feel it kind of flexing for you. The carbon fiber is not going to flex. And that's a personal preference if you like that or not. I personally really like the flex in the graphite cue, but I know a lot of people love the rigidness of this carbon fiber cue. And this comes in a two-piece or a four-piece. We only have these in 3 colors. We have them in red, blue, and black. When they're inside, they look pretty muted, but once you get them out in the sun, they really sparkle. Our carbon fiber cues come standard with a chameleon head. So if you're getting a carbon fiber cue, you're going to get those weights automatically included. So this one breaks down into 4 as well. 4-piece. Now I would like to give you a tip. when using either the graphite or the carbon fiber cues. Sometimes we hear people, their cues get stuck. So after they played, they can't get them apart. It takes a lot of effort to get them apart. One of the things we always tell people is take them apart between games. So if you're playing 3 games in a day, after your first game, take it apart, walk to your next court, put it back together. That's gonna help you make sure that you don't have 3 games worth of stopping discs with your cue or leaning on it, stuck in that cue at the end of the day and make it harder for you to take it apart. If you have any questions at all about what cue is right for you, don't hesitate to give us a call. If you happen to be in the Tampa Bay area, we are in Seminole, Florida, so swing on by and then you can take a look at all of the cues that we have. Usually you can even try them out if you'd like to on the court we've got in the other room.